thank you, as I said, for joining with us today. So look, the first thing I wanted to do, and really just kick it off, is kind of what would you say it kind of inspired you to get and really pursue a career in IT?
So for me, I had very good teachers at school. IT was a very new thing when I started back in like the 2000s. And we started just with like basic computing, basic IT. But what was really good about the university I went to, which is UKC, so University of Kent, was they actually opened the opportunity for people that didn't do maths degrees to actually still do computer science. So they gave you extra lessons, they made it very accessible, they offered lots of extra resources. So something that for me might have been unachievable in the past was something opened up. It was really good as well because I was a minority. I was one of 10 out of about 100 students in my computer science degree, but they were opening it up. They were trying to get women into the industry at the time. They also did a lot of career meetings when I was there as well. So they would get people to come in from different businesses. So I wouldn't necessarily have known to go into a financial market software house had we not had people coming out telling them about the business, saying that just because you've done computer science or chemistry or something, you're limited to this area. They actually went through and said, actually, you can go into loads of other fields and you can expand on maybe what you started learning and actually going into different areas. So I started very technical and I've ended up very project managing. So it's kind of evolved over time and my experience has changed. I didn't obviously start managing people, but I have evolved into that role. But yeah, it's been a lot of the teachers, a lot of the people around me that have kind of pushed me into a career which I suppose up until recently has been kind of a taboo. There isn't many women that tend to think, oh, I can go into a lot of these industries. They're kind of very niche. So it's quite nice to actually have a lot more choice.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I mean, probably, correct me if I'm wrong, but when you decided to do kind of computer science, how many women were in the course?
That's what I mean. So there was 10 women out of 100 males in the course. So you could basically see an array of males. There's a few little pinpoint glasses, all of them wearing glasses, all of them probably with awful hair that they'd just woken up in. But you started seeing, as the years progressed, by the time I finished my computer science degree, there were more women actually starting into the field. So it was quite encouraging to see that something that I was kind of almost not frowned on kind of applying for was actually something that actually lots of people are starting to think, actually, you can make a lot of money in this industry. It's something that's quite interesting. And there's a lot of areas with this industry. It's not just limited to one field.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you on that front. I mean, what would you say then, or actually, could you rather highlight some pivotal moments kind of within your career that has really led you to where you currently are at the moment as the head of infrastructure at Fidessa?
Yeah, so I started in very basic. I started doing database design. I started building client systems when I first moved into the team, learning up how I could actually do a lot of the work and actually getting up to speed on a lot of fields I didn't know in the industry. We were very much an equities house. We've moved into derivatives and other areas of financial markets. But the pivotal moments for me probably were the encouragement from my managers. I didn't have so much a mentor, but I did have a lot of people that were kind of trying to push me into other fields, work on what my strengths were. And I've tried to push that obviously into how I deal with people now. But what that had showcased is that I was very good at organising, I was very good at scheduling and coordinating bits of work. So maybe I wasn't the best programmer, maybe I wasn't going to be Bill Gates or anyone in the IT field, but I actually could move in and I could do very well managing other people's workloads. I could look at taking a very complex project and I could break it down into milestones. And I think it was the encouragement of a lot of people, the extra training that they offered, the time people spent that actually pushed me into fields that I wouldn't necessarily have maybe thought that I could do myself.
Well, no, that's absolutely brilliant. I mean, to be honest with you, when I was kind of looking for people to do this type of podcast or interview or whatever we want to call it, I would say probably about 15, 20 women and about 200 men with the title of head of infrastructure. So, for me, I always think that, infrastructure, cloud is a bit more diverse, but it's more kind of
Yes.
like the infrastructure at the moment is a very male dominated
Yeah.
kind of industry. So when you do see kind of females at the top, it is really kind of inspiring and empowering to other women within the industry. So that is kind of why I really wanted to kind of get you on the phone today, and just really to kind of talk through how you've got to kind of the position that you're at. So, on the basis of what I have just said, then,
Go
so
ahead.
as a leader, kind of how would you actively support and mentor individuals within your team?
So what I've learned is obviously how I've been obviously trained as well.
Mm.
So I think what I typically would do is I would look at people's weaknesses and strengths.
Yeah,
So everyone will have something. Some of them will be very detail oriented. Some of them will be very driven. So they're very good at getting things over the line. So you typically will look at the team as a whole. You will look at where they are better. Sometimes I would actually be part of the team and I'd be doing some of the work, and some of them I'd give them the empowerment to actually manage some of the teams. So what you do is you kind of repeat the process, you evolve it over time. And I found that people, if they were working collaboratively, they felt like they were involved in the process, they were making change, so they were kind of a bit more with you to kind
mm,
of adapt over time. I typically have managed, I think, one other team. Most of the time I am managing theirs, and it does come with its own challenges. You will have people that may be slightly older than you, that will be set in their ways, that you have to kind of look at ways of kind of easing them into maybe process change as well.
mm,
And it's kind of working through. We did some courses, I think, which were like the colour courses, where you're kind of seeing what your personality is like. And initially I disregarded them, but in some ways what it did train you is it got you sitting down, talking to other people that may be of a different colour, different um, type of personality. And what
yeah,
it did do is it actually made you realise that you might be quite abrupt, you might be very wishy-washy on how you write things, and it actually got you to scale back. I also did one on email writing, which sounds very, very boring. It actually got me to a point that it made me realise, well, you'll get something over the line, but you might not be liked. So then I actually realised maybe I have to change the way I write, how I communicate to people, and it will kind of mean that I get my result, and it might mean that it might not be as quick, but I'll have made, um, a conversation with someone. People might want to link up with me. They might want to help me in future. So
yeah.
it's, again, it's adjusting your style to match what your team is
Well, look, I
and
completely,
encouraging them.
yeah. So then, as we did mention before, kind of infrastructure being quite a male-dominated
Yeah.
industry, kind of what would you say are some of the key challenges that you've really encountered working within this sector?
Again, it's changed. So you've got a lot of things moving into the AI space, ChatGPT, cloud being obviously a client. So you have people that are very set in their ways, people that have been there 15, 20 years, and they will be not liking to change, even down to doing timesheets or logging the project. They will take a bit of adapting. So you almost kind of, I would put myself as a test case. I would do a lot of the legwork in some cases. I would showcase how things could be done. And then I'd work with them to reach a compromise to kind of get a solution in. But you will find nowadays, it depends on the industry you go into. In infrastructure, they are almost being forced into technology because you've got to move with the times.
Yeah,
And in some cases, people tend to hold back and go, no, you can't do this. And I think I've done a lot of investigation onto what is supported in cloud at the moment, and it's quite encouraging. But I think, again, people started hearing about this and they get very nervous. And so I think it's going to take time. And some of the challenges were more around people's adaptability. So
yeah.
if you take a new starter, they're going to be desperate to prove themselves and they'll be really encouraged and they'll be wanting to look into things. If you get someone much older, it's going to be a lot harder to kind of say, here's the bonuses and the benefits to doing this.
Yeah, I completely agree, especially when you get kind of the people that have worked in that kind of data center environment, very set in their old school
Yeah,
ways, and then the clouds come about, and they're like, well, no, 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 we're
yeah,
actually fine working in this, and
yeah,
it does take a lot more really to kind of get them to be open to it, but
yeah.
with everything working at the moment in time, the cloud is probably the way to go, and kind of, would you say that you've faced any specific kind of challenges as a woman at the top or a woman in a leadership role, or how has it been for yourself?
It definitely is a challenge to kind of show yourself as someone that's apart from the pack, I suppose it's a term, to kind of show it. It took a long time.
Yeah,
I got a lot of chances along the way with maybe some people leaving, and there were gaps in the roles, and I would actually jump at that. And that's what I would definitely encourage any new starters coming into this, that they actually kind of show what their strengths are, and not being frightened to actually put their opinion across, because
yeah,
having an opinion is so important and people respect you a lot more for having that
yeah,
rather than sitting on the sidelines. So I
mm,
think I did fight a lot with kind of getting on my day-to-day work and not seeing any route for progression, because you had set people, they're in their role, they've been in their role for 20 years. And
yeah,
it's almost then kind of putting forward other ideas. Could the role be changed slightly? Could there be another team looking at a particular area, and almost creating a role to meet a need? And that's also created specialisation, which is causing transferable skills, which means if I did at some point ever leave, I would have other options and skills that I could then move on to think in a different company, but a similar field.
yeah. I mean, I completely agree with kind of everything that you have said there. Infrastructure is, I mean, I love it to pieces. It's what I recruit into and what I have
Yeah,
done since I've been within the IT field. Getting a bit more exposure to cloud now as well. But
yeah,
I do love infrastructure, but I 100% agree with you. There will be challenges because it is quite a male dominated kind of sector environment. But we're getting there. We
yeah,
are.
we are definitely improving. I think we have more like 20 or 30 females actually coming into the industry, and there's more maybe from other countries actually starting to apply.
Yeah,
So whereas previously you might have been limited to say the UK, we're getting people like in Nevada, Italy now applying. So it
yeah,
is becoming a bit more of an accepted role.
yeah. I completely agree with you on that front. I mean, with probably how do I the best way to put this? So, how would you then encourage and inspire kind of the next generation of women looking to pursue careers within infrastructure or within the IT world?
I suppose what I would, if I was going back in time to advise me, I
Mm,
would say definitely start keeping on trend with looking at LinkedIn, looking at Twitter, looking at things that are up and coming in whatever field you're interested in. Don't be frightened of looking at other fields. Just because you've done computer science or you've done something in a specific, mathematical field, that doesn't limit you. You could go into, say, if you like the design element of that from your degree, you could go into marketing. You could
mm,
kind of go into project management. There are so many different fields. Definitely try to get a room industry if you could, so you can get some exposure, because I think when people look at CVs nowadays, some of them are looking for some sort of industry base, and even if you've not done a degree, go and try and do some sort of like internship or something, just to showcase you are different. You're not just what's on paper. You've got something to tell for yourself. And yeah, I would definitely kind of read up, try new things, and actually get up to speed, because this changes constantly.
mm.
I would almost see if there was a mentorship program as well, see if there was people that might already be in this industry that would be kind of able to advise you, sit and chat to you about what an interview would be. Because I know when I first went in there, it was a shock to the system. I went for IBM, I think, at the time, and I
Right.
had 5 interview stages to get through, from making bits out of toilet roll to having to do a presentation off the cuff. And if you've not done a lot of this, it's a real shock. And I think if you, as a recruiter yourself, you would find that there are bits you can prepare your interviewee for,
Yeah.
but even down to the drilling of questions. Now, I've interviewed people, and I know that I will be almost looking for questions to see how they answer things. So even just offering an individual half an hour slot to actually go through and say, right, this is the sort of areas to look at, this is what you can kind of do. It definitely would help encourage them. Just kind of moving forward and not being so scared about applying for things, because
Yeah.
I think I'll be honest, I probably opened a bottle of wine before attempting to do an exam for applying for the job I've been in for now, 18 years. And actually, when I got in started it wasn't as scary, but because I didn't know what I was going in for,
Yeah.
it you got very nervous. And I think it is. It's just not being frightened to try as well.
Well, I think that's an absolutely brilliant answer. So thank you very much for
Not
it.
a problem.
All I can say now is I really do appreciate kind of you taking the time to have a chat with me today in and around International Women's Day and around infrastructure and kind of really your career and to date. So I really do appreciate it. If you have anything else that you'd like to know from myself or Xcede or anything like that, feel free to let me know. But all I would say is thank you very much, and I hope you have a lovely rest of the day.
You too. See you then.
Thanks,
Bye.
love.